Hello and welcome to A Dialogue with History. I'm Ashish and this is Mamta.
Hi friends. So Ashish, what do we have in store today?
We have a bag full of interesting facts, stories and reports for you. Did you know, Mamta, that events of today are material for history tomorrow? It is everywhere and entails everything, be it a new innovation, political developments, rise and fall of Sensex, natural calamities, sports, music, films, everything.
I know, and I also know that experts chronicle these events with great care. That is why we have experts on art, music, dance, politics, etc., who not only note and evaluate current developments, but also refer to the past.
Very true. And these very facts later become the facts for use of a historian.
In this day and age, we are aware and sensitive about history, and there are innumerable number of pieces that support our claim. But how do we draw conclusion about life in the past, especially hundreds and thousands of years ago?
I've got something for you. Here, take a look.
Hey, it is a coin.
Right. Well, it is one of the earliest coins found in India.
How exciting!
This is historical evidence for us.
What?
Watch the story and find out.
Coins have been in circulation since 6th century BC. For a long time, they have been the preferred choice for trade. Apart from trade, they are a rich heritage in terms of history too. In fact, they can tell us a lot about the times gone by. Take this coin for example. It is an ancient coin. Just by looking at it closely, we can see that the coin has punch marks. These marks tell us a lot about the technology that was used in those days. Punch marking was a less sophisticated technology used almost all over the ancient world. Whereby the metal was first softened by heating, then placed on a plate and struck with a punch and hammer. Further, these coins were unifaced, that means they were impressed only on one side. Why did they do that? That we would never know for sure, but it is generally believed that the coins were issued by a royal authority who may have had symbols used as punch marks, also symbols of their kingdom. The fact that they were unifaced may have been because of the lack of requirement of punching both sides of the coin in that day and age. The thickness of the coins from one end to the other varied as can be seen here, though by and large the weight of the coins remained the same. This further provides us information about the technologies and metallurgical procedures that were used then. Interestingly, on the side that was impressed, most coins had as many as 1 to 6 punch marks per coin. These punch marks often depicted the flora and the fauna of a particular area, as can be seen clearly in these coins. These gives us a great deal of insight into the kind of flora and fauna found in that day and age and their importance to the ancient man. All coins in India during this phase were made of silver. Historically, silver was during that period not found in abundance in India then. Yet, large volumes suggest brisk trade between India and the ancient world. Metallurgy too was considerably advanced. Look at this coin. It is good quality silver, a metal and not an alloy. System of weighing too was well advanced. There was uniformity of the weight of a coin issued by a specific republic. It was usually weighed in rattis. A ratti is equivalent to 0.11 grams. It is also said to be equal to 2 grains of wheat and 4 of rice. Even today, Indian jewelers widely use this form of weights, giving credence to the accuracy of the measurement. With the passage of time, currency also changed. New rulers adopted different metals, and for the first time, coins in copper and gold appeared. Many rulers used coins made of gold, silver, and copper. The designs improved, and instead of uniface, these very coins carried depictions on both sides. They also started carrying inscriptions from either religious texts or public messages of the king. So the study of coins, known as numismatics, is a very important component of history. It helps us in understanding and reconstructing it. It is instrumental in according to chronology to events and rulers, and usually evolution of coins and its technology can directly be linked to chronological rule of dynasties of kings. Coins help us understand the economy in that day and age. They also help us in understanding evolution of related technology such as metallurgy, weights and measures, etc. It gives us an insight of the kind of flora, fauna found in those days and the human understanding of the same. Religious inscriptions on the coins tell us about the religion that the people followed. The language used tells us about ancient scripts. The location of the coins tell us a lot about the physical boundaries of a princely state, along with the volumes of trade prevalent between states, principalities and countries. Finally, they are excellent pieces of evidence to judge and compare one civilization from the other and evaluate the indigenous growth of the civilization in question.
Oh my God! I had no idea that coins came into existence around 2,700 years ago.
That is correct. And you know, Mamta, I have a rather interesting observation on this.
What?
Well, we always say that need is the mother of all inventions. And what better example of this than these coins? Just look at them. These coins are unfinished, uneven, have so many punch marks on them. Yet each coin weighs a precise amount. And the occurrence of metal is as pure as can be.
You know, when you think of it, you have a point. The designs of coins that time initially was not a top priority, and there was need of improvement when we look at the technology, whereas metallurgically they were all standardized and weight-wise precise. Isn't it remarkable?
But we must remember that design is an important aspect of innovations and cannot be done away with.
Hey, so let us take a bumpy ride of the invention of the cycle.
Today, the bicycle is one of the primary transportation of the human race. An estimated 1.6 billion bicycles are in use throughout the world, in cosmopolitan cities, along remote country lanes, and in the smallest villages, and hundreds of millions of bikes are manufactured every year to meet the continuing demand for cheap wheeled transport. It was very difficult to attribute the design of bicycle to one particular individual. The first bicycle was a walking machine. It was a simple design that comprised of basically two same size wheels in line. The front wheel was steerable and was made totally of wood. It was propelled by pushing the feet against the ground. Simply put, the device helped the rider to a sort of glide work. This cycle was commonly known as the Dracian or hobby horse. This enjoyed a short-lived popularity as it was not very practical. In 1865, pedals were applied to the front wheel of the bicycle and were known as the velocipede fast food. The ride was so bumpy that it earned the nickname Bone Shaker. This too was made entirely of wood, though later metal tires were used. These combination too made the ride rather uncomfortable and was used as a hobby and died as another fad. In 1870, the first all-metal machine appeared. The pedals were still attached directly to the front wheel with no freewheeling mechanism. Solid rubber tires and the long spokes of the large front wheel provided a much smoother ride than its predecessor. The front wheels became larger and larger as makers realized that the larger the wheel, the further you could travel with one rotation of the pedals. You would purchase a wheel as large as your leg length would allow. This machine was the first one to be called a bicycle. These bicycles enjoyed a great popularity among young men of means, with the heyday being the decade of the 1880s. But this design too had its set of faults. The rider was seated so high above the center of gravity that if the front wheel was stopped by a stone or rut in the road, the rider was dropped unceremoniously on his head. Thus the term taking a header came into being. By the next 2 to 3 decades, many mechanical innovations were made, such as rack and pinion steering, brakes, etc. With improvement in metallurgy, small and light chains of sprockets came into being, and the design of the bicycle returned to the original configuration of 2 same-size wheels. The bicycle still had the hard rubber tires, and in the absence of the long shock-absorbing spokes, the ride they provided was much more uncomfortable than any of the high-wheel designs. The pneumatic tire was first applied to the bicycle by an Irish veterinarian who was trying to give his young son a more comfortable ride on his tricycle. His inventive young doctor's name was Dunlop. Sound familiar? Now, that comfort and safety could be had in the same package. Its popularity shot up dramatically, challenging manufacturers to find cheaper and cost-effective methods of manufacturing the bicycle. This was the beginning of the modern bicycle. Though innovations and improvements in design happen all the time, this bicycle was the closest to the current lot of bicycles that we ride without a care.
So how was the report?
Very informative. Though I too would like to add some information here. Did you know that designing a workable bicycle had caught the fancy of so many people that there were 2 buildings in Washington, D.C. which held every patent in the US. One building held the patent for every product you can think of, and the other was specifically reserved for bicycle patents.
How interesting!
So much thought and effort has gone into designing bicycles that it has been quite a challenge for the designers of 20th century to actually improve on the design.
But they still have done a good job. These days there are bicycles that are ultra-light and ultra-fast, which shift power by using gears. And we should not forget the all-terrain bikes and the mountain bikes, etc.
How true. But at times I feel I can do with simplicity. Don't you think?
So you want to ride the Bone Shaker?
No. I just wanted to draw your attention towards Indian clothing.
Oh, what about it?
Simple Indian clothes were so practical that till date, the sari, the dhoti, gamcha and the pagdi are extremely popular and widely worn.
That's true, but only partially. The fact is that the ancient Indian inhabitant did not actually know the art of sewing.
The result showed on the clothes. The clothes worn by men were usually dhotis, chadar, pagri, animal skin in extreme cold conditions, etc. Let us now see how saris, dhotis and turbans, pagris were adorned in that day and age. The use of pagri was of great importance in the hot Indian climatic conditions. It helped keep the head cool and avoid direct sun rays. Some of the pagris later became such elaborate affairs that you actually needed a specialist to tie one. The whole trick was in pleating and knotting the garment. Interestingly, it was so comfortable that till date slightly modified versions of the same are used.
This is what I call prudence. Why need a needle? Look at the world today. People are crazy about clothes. Hey, I suggest, learn from history.
I agree. Clothes in India, owing to oppressive heat most of the year, were practical and comfortable. But it was not always all about simplicity.
So what are we getting at?
I wanted to talk about masks.
Interesting.
Did you know that masks have been used in India in religious ceremonies, in fairs, festivals, songs and dances, and also to scare away animals?
And not to forget toys. Till date, children use masks of Hanuman and Ravan during the Shera.
Really? And did you know that masks have been used by the prehistoric man also?
Really?
Yeah. Speaking in terms of centuries and passage of time, there is evidence to prove that prehistoric man used masks 40,000 to 50,000 years ago.
This fact is too incredulous for me to believe.
If you don't believe this, then watch this.
Masks have been used throughout history on ceremonial occasions, during religious ceremonies, merrymaking, storytelling as toys in music, dance and drama. They are made of all possible materials such as wood, bamboo, plastic, terracotta, paper, clay, etc. They form an intricate web of living heritage of India and are used in different cultures and societies throughout India. Social scientists often attribute the use of masks as a need of a common man to search oneself and to find out its reflective imaginations. It is also believed to be used to enact or become someone else and sometimes disguise oneself. It was in this process that man discovered the mask, an idea that codified scores of disguises which were miles away from the actual self but very close to the mind. Masks are one of the oldest traditions the world over. Masks are used irrespective of cultural geopolitical boundaries. One fine example of the use of masks for religious reasons are the monastic festivals of Ladakh and Sikkim. Though far apart in terms of geographical orientation, they are known for the monasteries and have a number of festivals where monks wear colorful silk garments and different facial masks and perform sacred dances during religious festivals. They also role play enacting the many incarnations of Buddha. Most of the masks last for ages and are used again and again. Why the anonymity of the mask is so important is still a mystery. They represent the soul or the persona of the tribe. Masks are an important component of mythology and religion as well. They are used unsparingly in relating religious sagas and events such as Ram Leela, Ras Leela, Durga Puja, etc. Masks are very important to performing arts, and the reason for the use of masks may also have been the aspect of a man playing the role of a woman, as women rarely performed in such ceremonies.
So the next time you buy a simple mask of Hanuman or Ravan, remember to spare a thought to the history behind it.
This was interesting. You know, there are exhibitions held from time to time about these great pieces of art. You can have a trip down to the Crafts Museum and the National Museum to have a great insight about the living heritage of masks of India.
So that is all we have time for. Write to us at Tarang, post bag number 40, Horse Cars, New Delhi, 110016.
Until next time, it's goodbye.